Hello, my name is Clinton Askew. I'm a Director of Citywide Financial Partners and a member of the Financial Conduct Authority Smaller Business Practitioner panel. We're here today to understand what the Financial Conduct Authority means by the new independence requirements. This video has been produced in response to a request for clarification and information about these independence requirements, and I'm joined today by Rory Percival from the Financial Conduct Authority. Hello, Rory.
Good morning.
The RDR introduced a new independence requirement on firms, and I wonder if you could provide some clarification on that issue.
Okay. The new standard is about ensuring that advisors give a comprehensive and fair analysis of the market in a way that is unbiased, so they're not looking at any particular solutions for clients. Now, we have heard it said by some people in the industry that the new standard is much more difficult than the existing standard. I think in practice that the new standard is very similar to the old standard, the main difference being that there's a few new products involved with the new definition. Now, clearly a client who's coming to see an independent advisor should expect to be able to get a recommendation from the advisor that's from a comprehensive review of the market. If they are seeing an advisor who is holding themselves out as being independent, but that in practice is not what's happening, then there's a risk that the client's going to be misled or perhaps even suffer detriment. Now, we don't have any preference for independence over restricted or the other way around. We're simply neutral about that. We're just trying to create a situation where the industry understands better what our requirements are.
So what do firms need to do in practice?
I think one advisor expressed it very well. He said that independence is a state of mind. It's about ensuring that you keep an open mind and consider all the options. And I think that sits at the root of many of the questions that we get asked about independence. Now, advisors need to undertake a fair and comprehensive review of the market. They also need to be unbiased and unrestricted. But I think if advisors think about the objective of the rule as well, and that is being open and honest about the services that they provide to clients, then if they also keep an open mind about the solutions that they recommend to clients, then I think the independence piece will follow naturally on.
Okay, Rory, I understand that, but there's been some uncertainty in the market about the term comprehensive and fair analysis, and what I'd like to understand is whether that means that there has to be a full review of all products in the marketplace.
Okay, I think the first thing to bear in mind is that when we say comprehensive, we mean comprehensive across the market, and it's not that advisors need to know and understand and review every product in the market comprehensively. So it's perfectly reasonable for them to look at across the market, filter that through a research process and down to the short list, if you like, of products that they're going to recommend and undertake due diligence on those.
And does that mean then that you have to do due diligence on every product that you're looking at?
No, it's really a case that you need to undertake due diligence on the products that you're actually recommending. It's perfectly reasonable to do a filtering process down to a short list of products that you then recommend. Okay. Obviously, if you're doing that, you would need to review that process on an ongoing basis and keep an open mind when you're dealing with individual clients.
So, Rory, the rules talk about relevant market. Can you expand on that, please?
A relevant market is defined in the handbook as all retail investment products that are capable of meeting the investment needs and objectives of the retail client. In most situations, this applies to all retail investment products because advisors give advice across the piece. But in some situations, advisors will have a more focused area of expertise and give advice in a particular area that is relevant to the needs and objectives of a particular type of client. It's important to remember that it's about the needs and objectives of clients rather than being a product category.
Okay, so if a firm specialised, for example, in pensions, would that be a relevant market?
It wouldn't, because a pension is a product category rather than being meeting needs and objectives of a client. Retirement planning can be achieved by a number of different means and not just pensions. Pensions decumulation, however, can be considered a relevant market because that's a client need, and also there are a limited number of products that are available in the decumulation market. So if a firm is advising on decumulation only, they can hold themselves out as independent in that market. Other examples of relevant markets are ethical investments and Islamic financial instruments.
All right. So how do the independence requirements fit with firms using platforms?
We often get asked the question, can you use one platform and be independent? I think the first thing to think about is, what do you actually mean by saying we use one platform? If you're saying that we use one platform for all of our clients, for all of their investments, then we think that's going to be very rare, if at all possible, and be independent. We have seen a number of firms where they have saying they use a single platform for all of their clients. And they say this because they've got a very narrow client bank. That may be okay, but we would ask if that's always okay. The reason is that some of the firms that we spoke to, when we talked about their clients in a little bit more detail, it transpired that they have, for example, children of their main clients that they also recommend perhaps just for an annual ISA. And that's a very different type of client with very different needs. So one would question whether actually the platform that they're using for their main clients is right for the client's children. I think if they are analysing that and coming to the right conclusions for those individual clients, then that's fine. But it wouldn't be meeting the independence rule if they were, if you like, blinkered into using the platform that they're using for their main clients. It's much more likely that firms can use a single platform for the majority of their clients, because typically firms will get outlier clients for whom a different solution is going to be appropriate, whether that's looking at an off-platform solution or another platform. The other thing I would just like to say is that when it comes to platforms and independence generally, the rule is very much not about creating an artificial spread of investments for clients or an artificial spread of platforms that you use with clients. It's really just about providing the right advice to clients and keeping an open mind of the options for that.
So if firms are using model portfolios, how do those fit into the independence requirements?
It comes back to what I was saying earlier, in that so long as you start from a comprehensive view of the whole of the market, it's perfectly reasonable to narrow that down to a short list, for example, using model portfolios. You'll obviously need to keep that under review, and the other thing you need to do, very importantly, is not to be restricted to just using the model portfolios when you're seeing individual clients. You need then to be able to keep an open mind about what other solutions might be appropriate for the individual client that you're sitting in front of.
Okay. So firms that are using panels, how does that fit in with the independence requirements?
That's very similar to model portfolios. It's a case of starting from the whole of market, filtering that down to your shortlist, undertaking due diligence of the products that you are going to be recommending, and then ensuring that when you're dealing with individual clients that you are not restricting yourself just to the panel products, that you are keeping an open mind about what solution is going to be right for that client.
Okay, so can an independent advisor refer business to another firm or another advisor within that firm and still meet the independence requirements?
Advisors shouldn't be referring clients routinely in relation to individual product areas to other advisors, whether that's internally or externally. That wouldn't meet the independence rule. Now, there are some circumstances where it's perfectly reasonable to refer clients around. For example, if a particular advisor is too busy and there's a sharing of workload, or if, for example, the firm has a process where the senior advisors get to see the wealthier clients. Those kind of arrangements are fine. It's also fine for specialists within a firm, or even externally, to support an advisor giving advice to the client, but it is still that first advisor that needs to be able to give advice on all of the product areas.
How do independence requirements impact on firms offering discretionary investment management services?
Okay. The first thing to bear in mind is that a referral to a discretionary firm in normal circumstances is not, in handbook speak, a personal recommendation for a retail investment product. And that's because it's a referral to a service. That said, clearly if firms are acting in their clients' best interests, we would expect them to take a wide view of the discretionary market to ensure that they're getting the right solution for their clients.
Okay. But what if the discretionary investment service was a sister firm to the main practice?
The same rules would apply. It's a case that we expect firms to look at what's right for their individual client bank.
And is it possible for firms to not recommend products and still remain independent?
Yes, that is possible in certain circumstances. A firm might take the view that in the light of their client bank, a particular product is not going to be suitable for them. For example, UCITS might be considered unsuitable for the typical client bank of an advisory firm because we generally view them as not suitable for retail clients in most circumstances. Now, the firms need to keep that under review, and the firms also need to ensure that their advisors maintain their knowledge and understanding of that product area, because if you like, it's a never say never basis. Firms need to think about ensuring that as the market changes, it may be that their view on that product changes, and so they need to keep that under review. The other thing that might happen is a different client comes through the door for whom that product is suitable, in which case they'll need to be willing and able to give advice to that client.
So Rory, given all that you've said about the independence requirements, do you think it's still possible for smaller firms to meet those independence requirements going forward?
Absolutely. And in fact, if you look at the thematic review that we've just undertaken, many of the firms that we looked at on the independence requirements were smaller firms, and the vast majority, we didn't have any concerns about their ability to meet the independence rule. In addition, when we published the Good and Poor Practice Guide, many of the examples of good practice are those that come from small firms.
So Rory, what key messages do you want firms and individuals to take away from this video?
I think the first one is about keeping an open mind. I've mentioned this quite a lot, and I think it sits at the root of many of the questions that we get about independence. Secondly, I think firms should be reassured that we don't expect them to review every single product in the market. It's perfectly reasonable for firms to filter the market and undertake research to, if you like, a shortlist, whether that's using model portfolios or panels or whatever other means, and then undertake the due diligence on that shortlist of the products that they actually recommend. Finally, I'd just like to say there is some other material available for advisors. We've undertaken a thematic review and provided a report. That includes a lot of examples of good practice that we'd encourage firms to read.
Thank you for those answers, Rory.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We hope that you found this video and the accompanying material helpful in understanding the independence requirements.